Additionally, some horrifying videos of Justin Bieber at a Diddy party are making the rounds. What I'm saying is really terrible. You most likely believed that the Diddy case was over. A conviction existed. A sentence was present. It was expected that people would move on. However, that is not the current mood. It's difficult to overlook how nervous certain A-list celebs appear. One of them even made a $100,000 offer to have his own name looked at in relation to Diddy. Meek Mill shared it on social media. He expressed his desire to employ a team of investigators to uncover every detail pertaining to his name in the Diddy case. His own remarks were inappropriate. It doesn't sound like a straightforward denial. It sounds like a celebrity attempting to outpace something he perceives as developing around him. At about the same time, prominent Hollywood attorney Brian Friedman went on the record to claim that many of these celebrities are not getting enough sleep. Anyone who knew, condoned, or supported the behavior while remaining silent, he added, should be concerned. People notice the anxiousness when everyone continues to argue that there is nothing to see. There isn't a party like a Diddy party, as everyone knows. That's laughing. Now let's see what Kevin Hart does, as this is when the narrative becomes much less abstract. Hart candidly acknowledged attending one of Diddy's parties during a Netflix roast. On stage, he said it personally. I attended a party. He had no attorney representing him. No polished statement. Kevin is speaking directly into the microphone. Shortly afterward, the tone shifted. In 2010, he was queried about throwing a Diddy party by paparazzi who saw him out for a walk with his wife. Hart said, "You're asking the wrong person the wrong question," as he turned to face the camera. After that, he walked away. That's not really a response. Nor is it a denial. It occurs when someone withdraws from a question that might have been resolved in a matter of seconds if the response was straightforward. He confesses to attending a party during a live comedy special one evening. Another evening, he entirely withdraws from the conversation and refuses to discuss the topic. As a result, people are left attempting to choose which version they should accept. From the beginning, that is my brother. When we woke up, we would, I swear, pause. However, it is more difficult to ignore the next section. Katt Williams, who has been criticizing this kind of inconsistency for years, was present on that same stage. Just because Kevin went to Diddy parties does not mean he did something wrong. That alone already made people tense, Williams stated, glancing out at the audience during the roast. However, he later added the phrase that truly went viral on the internet. He must have done something bad because when you bring it up, he becomes very quiet. The crowd erupted. A few folks were laughing. Some appeared genuinely uneasy, as if they had just heard someone utter the silent part aloud. Fans are still playing back the scene where Williams made that SH gesture with a finger to his lips weeks later. Many viewers interpreted that as Williams implying that he is aware of something Hart want to keep hidden. To be clear, no proof of any crime by Hart has emerged. However, his avoidance of the topic is currently garnering more attention than any denial could. You're doing it, man. Daddy, you deserve it. You're working hard. I'm proud of you. I adore you. Indeed. I'll stop there because a lot of folks tend to skim over this section. One explosive video or one leaked document is not the focal point of the discussion. It is based on behavior. Hart acknowledged attending a party. Then he declined to discuss it. The quiet could be the true issue, according to a comedian who has a long history of exposing Hollywood secrets. A prominent attorney then claimed that listers are having trouble sleeping. Meek Mill then made a financial offer to clean his own name. Every action makes the one before it appear somewhat unfamiliar. When everyone starts acting as though they are preparing for impact, you don't need to make a confession for people to notice. That's the pressure that currently hangs over the entire circle. Silence begins to resemble a tactic. Turning away from a query begins to resemble a hint. However, let's be clear that the legal reality is important in this case. On 2 counts of transportation for commercial activity, Diddy was found guilty. These convictions are felonies. He transported individuals across state boundaries for illicit purposes, but he was found not guilty of the more serious accusations of human trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. It matters that the verdict was mixed. He was found guilty of a felony, although not for the most serious offenses that many had anticipated. Additionally, the law is unambiguous in another regard. In most cases, a person who merely went to a party where crimes were committed is not prosecuted. Evidence that someone actively took part in or assisted in the commission of unlawful crimes would be required by prosecutors. There is no proof that Kevin Hart did it. Not one. Therefore, his actions are what draw people back in if the law is not pointing the finger at him. Every time he avoids it, the question reappears since the public standard and the legal norm are entirely different. Proof is required in court. People search for patterns on the internet, and Hart has provided a wealth of resources. He affirmed that he was present. He didn't ask follow-up questions. When Williams brought it up, he was clearly uncomfortable. Then, as if it were unsafe to even hear the question, he turned away from the photographers. That would be messy enough on its own. However, the fact that Hart is not the only famous person acting strangely around the story makes it much more noteworthy. Derek Parker is a former NYPD officer. He refers to himself as the hip-hop cop. He has been making appearances on YouTube channels and TV programs, stating that Diddy will soon name well-known acquaintances to shorten his sentence. He claims that Jay-Z was aware of the events that took place. He claims that other well-known figures should also be concerned. These assertions are now unsubstantiated. Although no court has verified them, they are quickly gaining traction in the real crime community and have greatly increased anxiety. You must realize that the risk is both legal and public in order to comprehend why celebrities appear so terrified. It doesn't truly go away once someone's name is included in the loop of rumors surrounding something so repulsive. People are kept up at night by associations like that. Observe what transpired immediately following that roast. Users of social media began searching through years' worth of old video. Every heartfelt party tape, every interview in which he brought up Diddy, and every red carpet moment in which he appeared even slightly uneasy were all pulled back out and scrutinized frame by frame. His facial expressions were slowed down by TikTok producers. On the basis of small gestures, YouTube channels developed elaborate theories. At a party Hart held in 2010, a woman sitting next to a hot tub caught fire, and all of a sudden that old film was being used as part of a far darker narrative. It is not a courthouse that Hart is currently dealing with. A million amateur detectives with limitless replay buttons, infinite storage, and no editor to tell them when to quit. There is an additional layer here that is not sufficiently discussed. Due to a 2017 extortion controversy, Hart is already embroiled in a different court battle with Jonathan Jackson, an old buddy. That issue was sent to private arbitration by a federal judge. Therefore, Hart's solicitors most likely have every incentive to repeatedly tell him the same thing. Don't discuss anything with media. Don't produce fresh proof. Don't give usable quotes to the opposing side. A simple conversation with a paparazzi should not become a deposition. Therefore, Hart's statement that wrong person, wrong question might not be guilt at all. It might be a legal tactic related to an entirely different case. The public's lack of awareness of legal strategy is the issue. A man is seen by the public staring into a camera before turning to go as if he had anything to conceal. I'd be glad to go if anyone. We believe it to be completely at odds with the jury's decision. I mean, the jury's decision was really evident. Sex trafficking did not exist. No racketeering took place. Everything was agreed upon. He was only found guilty of the offense since everything was adult. We believe that the judge, who we did not select, served as the 13th juror today, and that he questioned the jury's decision. Add to that the May 2026 Netflix roast. The target is Hart. The host is Shane Gillis. Hart almost unintentionally came across as suspicious after the first roast. He runs the risk of making the same error if he makes jokes about Diddy once more. People will notice if he entirely ignores the topic, and they'll likely fill the hole with even worse presumptions. His current media lockout is probably a preventative measure to prevent producing additional material that could be used against him in the public opinion court. However, that presents a dilemma of its own. The story now includes the lockdown. He declines to respond every day. The inquiry becomes more audible. What is he concealing? The truthful response can be nothing. However, the silence is already causing him more pain than any charge. In actuality, Hart's entire brand is based on popular appeal, work ethic, fitness, and family-friendly humor. Even if Hart did nothing wrong, a long-term relationship with a convicted felon like Diddy may have an impact on movie jobs, endorsement deals, and upcoming Netflix specials. Thus, it makes sense to remain silent from a professional perspective. It's not necessarily a confession, but rather clever damage control. However, once people are suspicious and that suspicion is already present, clever damage control might appear just like guilt. Because of the guest list, some internet investigators have asserted that Hart's 2010 party was linked to those occasions. That has not been supported by any accuser, has not stepped forward as a witness. The rumor is more based on association than proof. But Hart can't just outrun it because social media has magnified it so dramatically. This is the current state of affairs. Diddy's case has been settled in court. However, the public scrutiny of everyone in his vicinity is more intense than before. Money is being offered by Meek Mill to clear his own name. A-listers are not sleeping, according to a prominent attorney. Kevin Hart has not turned around since leaving a camera. All of that is behavior that people may point to, but it is not criminal evidence. And in the era of viral scrutiny, that may be sufficient to harm someone's character before any charges are even brought. It's not really an issue of whether Hart is going to be arrested. Whether his quiet ends up being the most memorable aspect of this entire chapter is the question. And the narrative completely changes if a new group of accusers names someone who the public did not anticipate. This is why it still seems risky. One part of may be completed legally. The public is still awaiting the next name. Are you worried that Sean Diddy Combs might be violently or sexually abused? Does that exist? Because it seems like a thing based on what was mentioned in court. You're curious about what happens when the public never truly closes the case after the court system imposes a sentence. That is essentially the current state of affairs. Tony Busby, the attorney, claims to represent 120 accusers, 120 distinct individuals. He has stated that when those claims are eventually made public, people will be shocked by the names associated with them. And that is the part that everyone is afraid of. The music for those names hasn't been released yet. Therefore, every famous person who has ever attended a Diddy event, every executive who has ever attended a meeting, and every artist who has ever posed for a picture is left wondering if their name will appear on that list. Imagine checking your phone when you get up and hoping you haven't been dragged into an uncontrollable scandal. People are not particularly ready to talk about that kind of pressure in public. Now consider the consequences of a defendant's own family ceasing to provide him with a complete defense. In a public statement, Janice Smalls Combs, Diddy's mother, made it far more difficult to rely on the standard general denials. She referred to the coverage as a lynching in public. Although she acknowledged that her son had committed mistakes, she stated that he should have his day in court. She then explicitly mentioned the hotel security tape from 2016 that showed him assaulting Cassie Ventura. She claimed that her son might not have told the whole truth about several things, such as his prior denials that he had ever used violence. That is his own mother publicly owning up to her mistakes. It is therefore more difficult to accept every polished celebrity PR statement at face value if even she is admitting that some aspects of his story were not clean. The industry's broader wall of denials is weakened by just one comment. Wendy Williams was at a news station in Philadelphia when we returned to New York City. Netflix then intervened and completely changed the topic of discussion. Previously unreleased footage of Diddy having a private conversation with his legal team before his indictment was shown on film in the documentary Sean Combs, The Reckoning. You observe his planning. You see his response in real time. The documentary also contends that while more significant issues of access, money, and power remained unaddressed, the media transformed the crisis into memes and laughs. Some viewers left the video with the impression that it demonstrated how elite circles may protect well-known celebrities. Some believe the show profited from the same sensationalism it purported to condemn. In any case, the controversy is currently the subject of an official Netflix documentary. The tale has a far larger audience now that millions more people are aware of the disturbing information. The plot veers off course at the following turn. The Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, allegedly attended Diddy's white parties and opulent yacht celebrations, according to a book titled The Rise and Fall of the House of York includes. According to the same book, Prince Andrew had ties to those similar groups. The accusation alone propelled the scandal from typical Hollywood rumors into the worldwide prestige press, albeit royal sources have not confirmed any of it. That has a different type of weight. The subject is no longer just entertainment news when a British royal is discussed in relation to the same gatherings where celebrities are now appearing uneasy. It becomes a far more significant and difficult to contain reputational issue for. At that point, losing a Netflix partnership isn't the only harm. It turns into a global elite accountability issue. And most superstars are not equipped to handle the type of attention that comes with that. The conspiracy and true crime audiences begin to watch the same screen at this point, so bring in the Epstein files. The release of the Epstein files is planned. There is conjecture that the documents might contain Diddy's name or the names of individuals close to him. The plot becomes even more convoluted if such occurs. You would be examining potential similarities between two significant elite scandals, the same social circles, the same private gatherings, and the same presumption that some individuals travel the world in safety. The Epstein files may reveal names that have not yet received any attention. Furthermore, no publicist can just remove a name once it appears in that kind of context. People recall it. Ask anyone who has previously been brought up in relation to either case. Many individuals are still attempting to comprehend the potential overlap between these two realms. Meek Mill, on the other hand, is not waiting to see how this develops. He made it known that he would like to pay $100,000 to an investigating team to find out what is being claimed against him in the Diddy case. Something not right is exactly what he said, and it doesn't sound like typical damage control. It sounds like a man who is unsure of what lies ahead and seeks answers before the internet provides them. Generally speaking, people don't offer that much money unless they're extremely concerned about what might come to light. If Meek Mill is concerned, it is reasonable to question how many others are remaining silent in the hopes that their identities would never be spoken. While silence may seem more secure at the time, it also amplifies the consequences if anything eventually breaks. Said, "Your Honor, I will accept the Mann Act, but I feel like I was targeted by a weaponized Justice Department, and I now understand what President Trump was saying when he said that happened to him because we have similar things that happened. And I appreciate what he was saying. Now, I didn't understand it at the time, but I now comprehend it." You can stand here and say, there's a detail here that keeps getting overlooked quite easily. Diddy's mother stated that rather than pursuing the case all the way through, her son's civil legal team decided to settle it with Cassie Ventura. She said that the federal government regarded the ruling as an admission of guilt and exploited it against him. The significance of that song. Every celebrity associated with Diddy is currently caught in the same trap as his mother, who admits that the settlement looked horrible. They might produce fresh information that could be used against them if they talk. If they remain silent, people begin to view their silence as proof. Even if the legal meaning is more nuanced, if they settle quietly, it may appear to be a confession. This is not an easy lane. Every choice raises a new issue, and no one can predict when the next name will appear. Imagine what would happen if BuzzFeed eventually made those 120 names public. It might emerge gradually. It might hit all at once. In any case, each new name will trigger additional internet research. Old pictures will come up again. Previous interviews will be dissected. All of a sudden, old jokes will be considered hints. Whoever gets named next will follow the same pattern we observed with previous party footage. The internet lacks an editor and has a large memory. It is nearly impossible to stop individuals once they begin digging. For this reason, the quotation by Brian Friedman is frequently brought up. Pay attention to what he said. Those who knowingly allowed or encouraged the behavior while remaining silent should be concerned. He is discussing more than just direct involvement. He is discussing tolerating it, supporting it, and keeping silent about it. The circle becomes much wider as a result. It might not be necessary for you to be the one in the room carrying out the deed. You might just need to be someone who knew enough to take no action. Furthermore, a lot of people could find that description unsettling in a field where everyone knows one another. Whether someone can be charged is not necessarily the problem. Sometimes the greater threat is revealed in public when there is a much lower threshold and a much quicker response. Therefore, I would want to inform Justin Bieber and all others who are following the situation that he is a victim. When I watched this, I was appalled, not because I thought Justin Bieber would be involved in such activities at these gatherings, but rather because I saw that Diddy had purposefully targeted this child with song. Thus, this may be the next thing. Although Diddy's legal case has been settled, everyone around him continues to receive attention. Not every one of the 120 accusers has spoken. Not all of the names have been made public. The Epstein files are still available. These are all additional pressure points. Something that appears to be closed could be opened by any one of them. Celebrities are allegedly having trouble sleeping because of this. This explains why you see people avoiding cameras and declining to respond to basic inquiries. They are not merely responding to past events. They are responding to whatever they think lies ahead. A list of names that no one has yet felt compelled to respond to may still lie ahead. Those who believed this story was finished were missing some important information. One aspect of it was the conviction. The most important questions are how he managed to stay safe, who turned a blind eye, and which famous people could now have to defend their presence in such settings. It's likely that some of them will endure the focus. Maybe not all of them. Additionally, many who believed that being silent would shield them are receiving a harsh lesson. A tale doesn't necessarily vanish when there is silence. Sometimes it simply offers everyone more time to speculate about what might be concealed. When that list is eventually released, what do you think will happen? Do these superstars become even more silent, or do they begin to speak? Tell me in the comments. We will continue to keep a careful eye on this one. Let's talk soon.